In this video we are going to see the topic inheritance. Okay, so actually what is inheritance meaning is acquiring the properties of one class to another class. For example, we can say the relationship between a father and a son. Okay, so what is inheritance is nothing but acquiring the properties of one class to another class. In simple words, we can say inheriting the methods and properties of one class to into another class. So in Python, we were allowed to inherit or use the properties of one class to another. So we can use the methods and properties of one class to another class with means of this inheritance concept. Actually, what is inheritance? Inheritance in which we can acquire the properties of one class to another class, or else we can say it is used to inherit, okay, the properties and methods of one class to another class. See here, okay, we can able to inherit the properties of properties and methods, meaning normally we use variables and methods in a class. Okay, if you want to use the variables and methods of one class to another class, we can use this inheritance concept to inherit the variables and methods of one class to another class. Okay, and we call each class with some terms. Okay, parent class is the class being inherited from, or else we can say it is a base class. Child class is the class that inherits from another class, which we call it as derived class. Okay, so it's actually a definition of inheritance. Inheritance allows us to create a new class from an existing class. A new class, which we call it a subclass, and the existing class is from which the child class is derived, is known as superclass. Okay, so the real-time example for inheritance is a relationship between a father and a son. Son will inherit all the properties of a father. Okay, he will have all the behavior, even the behavior and character of father. Okay, it's a inheritance relationship between a father and a son. Okay, so here in this slide, we are going to see how we can use this inheritance in Python. Okay, let's see the syntax of using this inheritance in Python. Fine. So we need to have two class to do this inheritance. The first one, okay, the base class, which we call it as super class, okay, should be declared class and then the class name. Any name can be given for this class name, but the class name which we call it as superclass. Okay, why it is superclass? Because we are going to inherit this to superclass, this parent class, or we can say the base class, to another class which we call it as subclass or child class. Fine. So what is the syntax to inherit a class into another class? See here, we have a class and we need to give a class name. After that, suppose if you are going to inherit this class to this class, we need to give this superclass inside this brackets, round brackets of subclass. Okay, we need to give this superclass inside the parenthesis of subclass, so that here the superclass is inherited to subclass, so that we can use all the attributes and methods of superclass in subclass. So this is the concept of inheritance. So why we need inheritance? We can able to use the methods and variables of one class. Okay, just like the concept of reusability. Okay, what is reusability? We can able to reuse the code again wherever we need. Okay, similarly inheritance, okay, by the concept of inheritance we can able to use the properties and methods of one class. Fine. So let's see the example program for inheritance. Here we have a class. The class name is parent class. Okay, so this parent class can also be called as base class. Okay, this parent class can also be called as base class, or else we can call it as super class. Okay, so what we have done in this parent class, see here we have included two functions. What are all the functions? Feature 1 and feature 2. And we have done some operation inside that functions of feature 1 and feature 2. So what parent class, okay, so what functions we have in this parent class? We have two function, feature 1 and feature 2, which is actually doing some operation. That is, in feature 1 we are just printing a statement, and feature 2 also we are just printing a statement, feature 2 from parent classes lines. Okay, so this parent class, which we call it as super class or base class. Now move on to the derived class. Okay, derived class, which we call it as child class or subclass. Here we have class, the child class name. After that we are going to inherit this parent class to child class. So what's the syntax to inherit a class? See here, class, the child class name, and inside the round brackets we need to give the class which we are going to inherit. So what's the class which that we are going to inherit? Parent is the class that we are going to inherit in child class. So we need to give the parent class. Okay, we need to give this parent class inside the parenthesis of child class. Now, okay, now we have inherited the parent class in the child class. What we have done in child class, we have another one function, feature 3. Okay, and just we are just printing a statement. After that, okay, we have two class. The class name is class parent class and class child class. We have inherited the parent class in the child class, okay, by using the syntax. See here, normally how we can access the functions of a class? Okay, by using the object. Normally we used to create an object for a class. Okay, by using the object only we can able to access the methods or variables of a class. Okay, so see here, if I am going to create an object, say A, for the class parent, this parent class, the object name is A. Consider I have created an object A for this parent class. So by using the object A only, I can able to access these functions, even the variables. Suppose if I have declared any variables, I can access those variables and function with respect of this object. Okay, see here, here we have two classes, that is parent class and child class. Parent class is inherited to child class. Okay, so there is a concept, by using the object that we are going to create for derived class can also be used to call the functions of parent class. Okay, so normally how we can access the functions and variables of a class with respect of object. Okay, but in the case of the inheritance, there is no need to create object for base class. Okay, even though by using the object of derived class we can able to access the functions and variables of parent class. Okay, so this is the concept we normally follow in inheritance. So what's the concept? There is no need to create object for base class. By using the object of derived class, here see, we have, what is the derived class? That is child class, right? So we see here we have created object for child class only. What's the object name? That is obj. Any name can be given for object. Here I have given a object name obj. Okay, so obj equal to child class. I have created object for which class? The derived class, child class. Okay, this derived class can also be called as subclass or child class. Okay, child class, subclass or derived class. Okay, see here I have created object only for the derived class obj. By using obj, the object of derived class, I can able to access the functions of this parent class. Why? Because this parent class is inherited to the child class. Okay, see here, feature 1 and 2 is actually the functions of functions that is defined inside the parent class, but even then we are just calling the function with respect of derived class object. This can be possible in inheritance, that by using the object of derived class we can able to access the functions and variables of parent class. Okay, so this is the example program for simple inheritance, that is one of the type of inheritance. Okay, another one example program for inheritance. So here we have two class. The class name is class animal and class dog. In class animal, I have a variable that is name. And after that I have defined a function. The function name is eat. So in the function I have simply written a statement that I can eat. Now this variables and functions, okay, which I define inside the class animal, okay, I'm going to inherit all these properties into the class dog. Now see, now I have inherited this animal class to another one class dog. Okay, so what's the syntax to inherit a class to another class? See here, class dog is a class which I have inherited another one class. The class name is animal. Okay, so this animal class which we call it as base class. Okay, so this class dog, which have inherited the base class animal, is called derived class, or we can say child class. Okay, fine. So in the derived class, I have another one function. The function name is display. Okay. So the function that is defined inside the class dog is display. And the class dog has inherited another one base class, that is animal. Fine. So for which class I need to create an object? For the derived class only. Why I have created the object only for the derived class? Since the base class is inherited to the derived class, there is no need to create object for the base class. Okay, see here I have created an object. Okay, I have created an object for the derived class. What's the derived class? That is dog of. Okay, so by using the object of derived class, I can able to access the functions and variables of base class. Okay, Labrador is the object name for dog, that for the class dog. Okay, by using the object of class dog, I can able to access the attributes, that is nothing but variables and methods of base class. See here, by using the object, I'm just, okay, using the variable of base class. Name is a variable which is declared under the class animal, but I am accessing the variable, okay, with the object of dog class. Okay, and also I'm calling the function eat of, the eat of function which is defined inside the class animal, the base class. Okay, but I'm just using the variable and the method of base class by using the object of derived class dog. Okay, after that, by using the object, I'm calling the derived class function also. What's the derived class function that I have used? Yeah, display of. Okay, so this how we can access the variables and methods of one class, of a class, if it is inherited to another. Okay, so what is inheritance? It is inheritance is nothing but acquiring the properties of one class to another class. In simple words, we can say the relationship between a father and a son. Okay, so in simple words, we can say inheriting the methods and properties of one class to another class. Okay, so let's see the different types of inheritance. So actually there are, okay, in the previous slide we have discussed example for simple inheritance. Simple inheritance meaning a parent class is inherited to child class, only one class, the parent class, which we call it as base class, is inherited to a child class. Okay, that we call it as simple inheritance. So these are some of the types of inheritance: simple inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and hybrid inheritance. Okay, simple inheritance is only one class is inherited to another one class. Okay, the base class which we call it as parent class, and the class, okay, which inherited another class is child class. Okay, then what is multiple inheritance? If we have two parent class and the two parent classes inherited to a child class, okay, which we call it as multiple inheritance. Then multi-level, okay, if it is inherited in a hierarchical way, then we call it as multi-level inheritance. Again, hierarchical inheritance is if two or more child classes which have inherited a single parent class or base class, which we call it as hierarchical inheritance. And hybrid inheritance, which is actually combination of some other inheritance. Okay, that is, we have inherited, see here, a child class which actually inherited two that is base child class 1 and 2, and these two child class which inherited a parent class. Okay, so hybrid inheritance is nothing but combination of different inheritance inheriting methods. Hybrid inheritance normally have different types of inheritance in it. Okay, so these are the different types of inheritance. Okay, so what is inheritance? Inheritance is acquiring the properties meaning methods and variables of one class to another class, which we call it as inheritance.